Hey guys, we are going to be going over AutoCAD today. This is going to be kind of a couple of long lectures because there is a bit of a learning curve you need to get into this program, after which we will be getting into a project. So without further ado, let's start on AutoCAD. So I'm going to go ahead and click New right here, and that'll just get us into a new interface here. The very first thing you do anytime you launch a new file of AutoCAD is you should type units. And I'm going to be typing a lot in this. I would highly suggest you guys get used to typing because this is a program that really shines when you know a lot of these keyboard commands. So I'm going to type units. And the very first thing I'm going to change here is this first box where it says decimal. We want this set to architectural. And you can see right here when I made that change, if I go back to decimal, right now we're working with 1.5, 2 point, whatever. Uh, but if I change this from decimal to architectural, you can see that we're using feet and, well, in this case, inches. But also we will be using feet as the delimiters. Another thing to keep an eye out is the decimal degrees. We're not going to really mess with that either. And there is a clockwise option here. We do have the option to change where this is facing, as far as what 0 is. Currently, the setting is east is 0. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you type an angle of 0, it's going to be heading off to the right. And then it will be moving, because this is not checked, it'll go from 0, 90, 180, 270, and back to 0. So just make sure you have these settings for architectural decimal degrees. Precision at 1/16 inch is fine. I'm also going to use inches here, that's fine, and hit OK. All right, so a couple things. Right now we have the top ribbon here at the top with a bunch of tools. These are basically your drawing elements. These are some of your modifies. These are some of your text and things. And then layers, and then these are kind of different settings that we'll mess with as we go through. There's this bar down here at the bottom. As we start doing things, you'll see text commands kind of sort of get fake entered into here, and then certain tools we use will also have kind of like text prompts, and I'll show you guys what those are when we get there. And we have a bunch of settings here. I don't know what yours look like right now, but for now, click on this one, or at least make sure this little circle with the angle's checked. Click on the arrow next to it, and we're gonna go ahead and choose the 45, 90, 135, 180. That'll save us a step in a little bit, and I'll explain again what that is kind of when we get more there. The other thing is movement. So you can hold down the middle mouse button, and that gives you a pan. You can do left, right, up, down. And then the mouse wheel will zoom in and out based on where the mouse wheel is. So if I wanted to get away from the center, I'd move the mouse over here and zoom in. If I want to get back to the center, I'd just zoom out and then find the center, and I can zoom in kind of relative to that position and get back in. Okay, so let's draw a line. So I'm going to hit L, and the nice thing about it is L is usually, unless someone has changed it, the first option that should come up when you start drawing. So L, enter, and it's going to give me this cursor, and then you can see here it's placing the cursor with those two little boxes on the X and Y axis. So as I pull it along the X axis, you can see that the X is fairly high and the Y is that negative 1/16 inch. Whereas if I come to the Y axis here, you can see that it is negative 3/16 on the X axis and 3'3" on the Y axis. So these are coordinates here that we're working with in this program. So to start drawing a line, I can either click somewhere and just start clicking. And the thing that I had you guys turn on, let me jump back real quick. Once I'm done drawing a line, I can hit spacebar, and then I can hit spacebar again to resume drawing the line. Spacebar is a really common tool for stop the current tool and or repeat the current or the previous tool. So if I wanted to, I could just keep hitting spacebar here after I draw these lines, and I can keep drawing them. All right. So let me clear this out again. So line tool, start drawing, and we turn this on so we should have some snaps. Anytime you get close to a certain prefixed angle there, you should see this thing snap to that green area, and it'll stay on that little snap line. Like, see if I move a little bit off, it's fine. You just want to make sure that you have a lot of these guides on, because these guides are going to help you. Now, let's go ahead and draw the line out this way. And this is kind of my preferred way of drawing, is I would start a line somewhere, snap it off in this direction, and then I would type a distance. So I'm going to hit enter. And then if I wanted to go down, I would snap to this way, type 10 foot, and go. Now, there are people who are way crazier, better at this than me, who would do something like 10 foot, and then you can hit the left caret key, which is going to be shift comma, and then I could choose 180. And that's going to move that line off to this other direction. So if I wanted to go up in this direction next, then I would type 10 foot, angle 135, and I'm hitting comma in between this, and you can see that it shot up to that direction. And then alternatively, I could just close this right here. All right. So you can do the kind of relative direction like that. And especially like if I'm setting up a house, I'm probably doing something like snapping it to here, entering a distance, and then coming down, entering a distance. So this is kind of how I prefer to do different measurements. Again, if you feel like jamming, and your thing is I like doing, I can have the mouse here and I can do 10 foot, angle 0, 10 foot, angle 10 foot, angle 0, and have it go out that way. I'm not the kind of savant that can sit there and just kind of keep typing out, oops, angle -90. I can't do that. My brain just doesn't work like that. But it works for some people, so to each their own. I don't know. I'm set in my ways, I guess. All right. So, what else can we do? We can start by typing. We can place a line start actually by typing in as well. So if I type 5 foot, comma 5 foot, it should go to the coordinate of 5 foot here on this grid. Similarly, oh no, because I already started this. So if I do 10 foot, angle 0, again, we're drawing off to the right there. I wonder why those don't match up. That's weird. Anyway, so let's discuss a couple things here and then we'll keep getting into the tools. So we have this little box with the box in the top left corner, and this is your object snap. So whenever I start using a tool, and you see that little green box that appears there, that's what this object snap is. And you can click this down arrow right here next to it, and we can choose which options that we have. So in this case right now, we just have the endpoint in the center of a circle. Midpoint I find super handy. Intersection and extension are also there. So let's really quick just go over what these mean, because this is kind of my favorite setting to have. So if I start a line here, this is your midpoint, or sorry, this is your endpoint. So you've got the square right there. If you find the center of this line, you can see that triangle. That's my midpoint. And if you check here, let's see, center. Let me draw a circle. We'll go over circles in a minute. But if I start drawing another line and then I just kind of hover over the edge of the circle and see that it kind of highlights that, now I've got the center. So that was the third option here. Intersection and extension. So if I have a set of lines like this, that X right there is going to be an intersection. Whereas if I start drawing like this, that right there, that it took the line that I was going off of, so I did point, hover over this point, and then start moving off in that direction, and it will keep that as an extension. So these are all tools that AutoCAD's going to give you to help more accurately draw your lines in. Let's talk about deleting too, because I've kind of done that a couple times and it's kind of hard to show what it is. So just like with some of the other programs that we've had, and some of the programs we'll be using, selection is very dependent on how you enter it. So I'm going to click. I'm not going to hold the mouse down. I'm just going to click and then move. And you can see that I select this whole area here. If I hit escape, I can clear that selection. Now, if I click and then move this over here and I only select those, you see that I didn't get this line back here. Doing a left to right selection, which is that right there, is only going to select things that it fully encircles. The alternative is a right to left, and you can see that if I do the opposite action, I actually select anything I touch, right? All I have to do is touch it, or at least basically wrap it. It has to intersect with the selection I'm making. So even just that right there, that will select that one right there, but it won't get any of the others. The other thing with AutoCAD is if you hold it down, you get this weird drawing thing. And again, this works in the same way that the rectangular selection does. So you have 4 ways to select things. In addition, you can just keep clicking things. So if I have a whole bunch of lines here, I can just keep clicking on them. And that's just going to keep adding to my selection. I can even do left to right on top of that. So you do have a couple ways to select things. And then if you hold down Shift, you can see that little tiny icon right there, and I can deselect it. Similarly, I can choose things to deselect in mass, or if I still had something selected, I could deselect it that way. So I guess technically you guys kind of have 6 ways to select things, or maybe 8. I don't know. You have a bunch of ways to select things. All right. So let's go ahead and clear this out here, and let's jump back over to the. Okay, so we already did the line tool. Let's do polyline. So this is going to be very familiar. It's basically just a line tool that strings everything together. I'm going to use this as a reference point. This corner right here. So I just got to this point. If you hover over it, you can see it shows that endpoint, and then it's going to keep that endpoint there as I move back up. And then this tool right here is going to snap in and say, hey, you've got a 180 from that one on the right, 0 degrees or whatever perpendicular from the bottom. These intersect right here. You probably want to draw a line there. So if you do get these nice little intersections, it's pretty handy. And then I'm just going to come down here and close it. Now, the thing about a polyline is that this is all one line, right? So if I had just done this with a normal line tool, then what I get here is I get I get a bunch of independent little line sections, right? So if I do this selection, I only get that top. If I do that, I don't get anything. And that's because this is a polyline, so it is a single line that it kind of just considers a shape on its own. I don't know how that's exactly kind of working. But basically it is a grouped set of lines. If you want to go in and mess with it, and it should be PL, which is polyline, to start drawing it. You can go in and you don't necessarily have to do anything. You can just keep drawing it and hit spacebar and walk away, right? But it's all one line. One of the nice things about doing a polyline, though, is if I am here, let's say I'm right here, and I don't want to figure that out, I can type CL, enter, and that will close this to the original start point and take me out of the tool, which is a nice little trick to use. Now, one of the things about polylines is because they're grouped, they're kind of hard to work with because, yeah, you can grab the points here and move them around, but sometimes you just want to remove a section. So if you have a polyline, and this is going to go for a bunch of the other tools that we'll cover in a bit too, I have it selected and I can type explode. And that will then break this polyline into a series of individual lines that I can now mess with. So that's pretty handy on its own. All right, so we'll go ahead and delete that, and then we'll switch to circle. And I think that's just CI. C works too. Yeah, CI works. Whichever one works for you, I guess. And then, just like the other tools, click to place. And then right now it's going off of the radius. You can see right here it's showing that distance. Now, this is one of those tools where you do have configuration options here. So it says circle, specify radius of circle or diameter. And then there's, a setting right there. If I go in here and I hit D, enter, it's going to change it from drawing the radius of the circle to the diameter. And you can see that there's that little line there next to that text box, where it says the text entry box I have in the workspace. And you can see that it has a distance right there. So when I switch this over to draw diameter, if I do 12 foot now, it's going to be a different distance than if I was to come back with the same tool. We're defaulted to radius right now, so if I type 12 foot, you can see that this outer circle with a 12 foot radius that goes across here That's twice as wide as the one that was centered here. So again, 12 foot across here, or from the center to the edge. Uh, this is also going to be 12 feet. So 12 feet, 12 feet. You've got 6 and 6 and 6 and 6. So um, you're going to be seeing a lot of little prompts that start coming in this area. So again, keep an eye on that, and you will see some really cool things. So next is the arc tool, and I always forget which one I want to do here. I think I usually do start, center, and then angle. So start, center, and then angle. Let me try drawing a line here, just so I've got some point of reference. So we've got those lines going across, and then we'll choose the arc tool. So start, center, angle. So we will start here, center is here, and then there's our angle right there. So that makes a little bit more sense, being able to see that. So then in the prompt down here we have specify include angle, hold control to switch direction. So if I hold control and then just move the mouse a little bit, it's going to draw it in the counterclockwise direction. Or sorry, no, we're going counterclockwise. This is the clockwise direction. Um, so if I want to switch it to go clockwise, there we go. Along with the circle tool, we have just different ways to draw the circle tool. So again, I started out with the center radius. There's the center diameter. I find these 2 point and 3 points kind of hard to enter. If you wanted to do like an oval of some kind, this is not the place to do it. You've got another oval tool. But like this just seems like crazy hard. I don't know how you would do entry like this. That's a wonky one right there. And then stay away from trig. That was that tool. We were on arc. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to do the arc. Maybe you want to do center, start, end. So it would be center, start, and end. Hold down control to switch that direction. And see how you don't quite fill that gap right there? That's why I like the one I mentioned, the start, center, and angle. Because if I know the start and I know the center, then I can come in here and draw that in. I don't know. I feel like that's this. This is intuitively sort of the easier one to put down on the page. Yeah, I don't know. That's just me, I guess. So then we'll go ahead and move to the next tool here, rectangle. I like typing REC. Rectangle tool is basically an autocomplete for more lines. If that looks familiar, this is just a pre-configured polyline with 4 sides. So if I was to explode this, I'm just left with those 4 lines again. So keep in mind, like just this program, all we're doing is just working with a bunch of lines. You're putting lines on lines on lines on lines. It is no more complex than that. It just kind of depends on how you work with things that really makes this program shine. Okay, so let's go to the next one here. That's going to be an ellipse tool. Just kind of like the arc, we have a couple different ways to do it. So specify, and I'm reading the text here, specify center of ellipse, or you can see it next to my cursor. Here's the center. Specify endpoint of one axis. Specify the endpoint of the second axis. So keeping an eye on either the little text box that hangs off my cursor, or this box down here is going to give me a lot of idea of what commands and extra things I can do. If I choose, for example, polygon, it's going to default to 4. You can see that in the carrots right there, it's got 4, but I can also enter a number here. So if I entered 8, we can make an octagon, and then specify the center. Now this is a little bit different, and I'll show you what the alternative is here in a minute. But there's inscribed in circle and circumscribed in circle. So if I do inscribed, it's going to be a little bit smaller. If I set the center of this one, say 3 feet, then we have that octagon right there. If I start another one, let's see if I can get to it. Oh, come on. Okay, center's right there. So then we'll go back to this. Oh, it's not going to be nice. Okay, we'll keep with 8. I'll just, oh, there it goes. Okay. So then this one, we were doing 8 sides, center of polygon, and then circumscribed about circle. And I think we did 3 feet. And what this is doing is, for this inner one here, if I place it right there, you can see that this circle kind of stays inside of the borders of that polygon. Alternatively, the other one here is going to go on the, let's see, I think it's, did I do the same one for both? I must have. Inscribed, 3 feet. Let me double check this here. Okay, well, oh, you know what I did? Okay, I just realized, okay. It's the distance, okay, yeah, so this one's right here. So, when I did the first one, it's to the point right here, right? Let's move this out of the way. I'll show you guys the move tool in a second. So inscribed, you can see that it's inside of the polygon itself here. So there's the circle, and if I go out to that point right there, so that point, that's a 3 foot inscribed because it's going to that point as being 3 feet. Whereas if I come back to this one, get rid of all these shapes in here, and then go to the outside point right here, you can see it's 3 feet, right? If I go here, it's 3 foot 2 and 15/16, and if I go here and go there, it's 2 foot 9 and some change, right? So the inscribed or circumscribed describes 2 different ways to determine the distance of the polygon. It's either going to be to the furthest corner or to the closest face. Let me get it right again. It's inscribed is the one that goes to this point, and the circumscribed is the one that goes there. Circumscribed, I don't know how to really define them. I don't know. But if you're doing a polygon of some kind and it's not going out to the measurements, it might be the placement method that you were going, that you had chosen, might have been wrong. So, just wanted to go over that because that is a weird little feature of the polygon tool. We have the hatches here. We'll get kind of deep into the weeds and hatches, but if you want, I'm just going to click on it. I'll choose solid and then pick points, and I can click in here and it will fill that in with a solid fill. So we'll deal with that later, but I just want you guys to know that exists for right now. Let's talk about moves. So here's a shape. There's a couple different things I can do. So if I select all of this, I can click on a point and I can move the point around. Just like if I'm placing a line, I can move it off in an axis, type, I don't know, 5 feet, and it will move that 5 feet. Really? Why is it going that direction? You should be going here. Let me try typing it. 5 foot angle 90. Yeah, that worked. Okay. It's weird that I don't know. I guess I've never done it like that a whole bunch. Usually what I'm doing with this is connecting it to a existing rectangle. So if I had something like this where I'm like, this corner needs to attach here, click on that, and then just let it snap. That's typically the usage of managing these individual points here. You can only grab kind of just the ends of them. You can grab the center, but you just kind of move the whole thing. So typically you end up just kind of grabbing these endpoints here and then moving them to a different location. Um, as far as other moves, so I can take this and I can start a move by either clicking the move tool or hitting M and hit enter. So then what it wants me to do here is choose a base point. And what a lot of you guys are going to get caught up in, and I see it every semester, is let's say you've got a whole bunch of lines here and you're working on something and you've got, you don't have a whole bunch of space and you need to move something. And so you go to do your move and then you click and start moving and it just snapped to something else, right? The way that I like to move in this program is having some empty space so I can just start the move, so M, enter with something selected. And then I'm going to come out here to where there's nothing and I'm going to move it through here, right? I can still do the same, like if I want to move it 10 feet in that direction. Oh geez, what's the scale on this? Oh, that's pretty big. Okay, that's why. So let's say 50 feet in this direction. Then I can do that in an empty space without, and this is a terrible example, but I can move something individually without having a whole bunch of like things it's snapping to along the way, right? You can also use relative positioning, so I can also take, I don't have to click on this and then move it up. I can take this and then I can click on, say, another point, and I can move it along that axis to another point. And that's super helpful for a bunch of different things. We'll kind of get into that a little bit once we get into actually building a floor plan. Um, so yeah, those are the couple different ways to move. Additionally, no, that's kind of it for that one. There is the rotate tool. So again, this is kind of work like a lot of other things. RO is going to be your keyboard shortcut. Specify base point. So you do have to specify the rotation point where you want it to rotate, and then you can see that it'll do whatever it wants to do right there based on that point. Just like everything else, I can type in a value. So if I want it to go 90 degrees exactly, I can do that right there. There is the copy tool. We'll get to trim and fillet in a minute. I want to get some of these others, and then we'll get to the fun ones. But copy tool. So when you're using some of these tools, I like to have a process where it's select the thing, run the tool, do whatever config you need to do, and then apply it. So in the case of the copy tool, I'm going to select all of this and have it there, because the alternative is once I start the copy tool, now I have to go in and I have to select all these things, right? For some reason, my brain just goes select it and then run copy. So that's how I'm going to do it. The other thing is that we have a couple different modes here. So when I was starting the tool, I did CO, enter, and then we have, don't worry about displacement. That's basically what I was talking about earlier, where you start and then move. Mode is what brings up the different modes that you have. So if I hit O and then enter, it's going to give me these options here for select a copy mode, single, multiple. Let's do multiple. So then if I do that right there, it's going to let me keep kind of pasting this out here, right? And I can kind of go in any direction I want as well. Once I'm done with it, I can hit escape and get out of that tool. So you can do a move copy essentially. If I was to, right now, if I switch to mode, the default is going to be single, so it should just do one move like that before it kind of just closes the tool out. Mirror is super handy, but again, it has some steps too, so I'm going to select everything I want here. Mirror. Now, it says specify first point of mirror, or specify first point of mirror line. And usually what I use this for is, say I've got like, I drew a nightstand on one side of the bed, so I want to get another one on the other. So I would find the center axis of the bed that's in between the two nightstands, and you could click here, and then it's going to place that copy right there, right? So usually it's just you click and then you move straight up to place. So I'm going to click right there, and then it's going to give me this prompt right here, which I also get down here, erase source objects. I'm going to say no, and we'll keep the original just chilling right here of my whatever this is. So you do have a whole bunch of options for how to use this. And again, it kind of, um, you can just kind of use that tool. If I want to erase the source object, yes, so now I have it only on this side. Mirror is super handy, and there are a couple places where you definitely want to learn it because why build something twice? Let the computer do the hard work. Stretch and scale, stay away from them. We're going for accurate measurements, and anytime you stretch something or scale something, unless you absolutely know what you're doing, you're going to get it off a little bit, and we're going for accuracy here. Um, in the event that you do need to stretch or scale something, I will talk to you guys and show you what it is you need to do in order to get whatever the thing is right. All right. Um, so, trim tool. Let me clear out this here. And we will do. I'll show you guys this tool in a minute. Oh, I'm super far out, that's why. Okay. Let me get in a little bit closer here. Oh yeah, wow, I zoomed super far out. Okay, 10 foot, nope. 10 foot. Let me get fancy 10-foot angle 0. Nope, that was 10 inches. 10-foot angle 0. 10-foot angle -90. And it won't let me close. Okay, yeah, there we go. We got it closed. Okay, so I'll show you guys, like I said, offset. I'll show you that in a couple minutes. We'll set all these to be in here. And so this is something you'll find yourself doing a whole bunch. Is maybe you just laid out the exterior walls, you offset your exterior wall thicknesses, and now you have all these extra lines here. And what I've seen a lot of students do is they will come in here and they will just grab these points and move them in. And sure, you can do this. It takes a little bit of time, but it's a doable process. The what I believe is the faster way to do this is to use the trim tool as I just slowly go around and do this. And so what the trim tool is if I undo all those steps, TR will get you the trim tool. And then what we're going to do once those are all selected is I can just click, and as this line crosses over, you can see it turns these things gray. So I can just click my way around and get rid of all these extra lines. All right. If I had a line that was going through this for whatever reason, again, I could hit, or I could grab the whole selection here, TR, and then get rid of those lines right there. You cannot necessarily use that indefinitely. Once there's a big enough, kind of complex enough selection, you will run into issues where it doesn't recognize a redrawn line as part of that trim selection that you were working with, and it kind of just walks away from it and says, and so you'll have to reselect a certain area and then rerun the trim tool. Fillet is another great one to use. This is one where I like kind of selecting an angle, and then FIL will get you the fillet tool. Now we have a whole bunch of different options on this one, right? First thing we're going to do is hit R for the radius, and I'm going to say 6 inches on this. So I'm going to do 6 inches. And then it's got an option for multiple and trim. What I'm going to do is just leave those as they are right now. And what this tool does is it says select first object. So I'm going to click here on that object. I'm going to come here and it's going to show me a preview as I hover over this line. And what the fillet tool does is it rounds corners for you. So if I want to, I can do that. Now, the next best thing that you can do, and it's going to inherit these 6 inches that I offset that radius by last time, is turn on multiple. So hit M, which will turn on multiple mode, enter, and now I can do click and click to get that line, or those two lines around that corner, and then it's going to keep me in the tool, so I continue selecting objects. So click and click, click and click, click, oops, wrong one, click and click, click and click. So having an option to keep the tool running means that I'm not sitting here like turn the tool on, do the thing. Hit spacebar again. I don't know. I guess it is like the smallest amount of clicks or whatever, but um, I think it's a super handy tool. You will end up using it a lot, especially once you get into like doing furniture and stuff. Um, but yeah, probably one of the better tools in the program. Let's see. Array. Let me double check. So array is kind of a weird one. I've probably used it 2 or 3 times. So when I have this selected, I click on array. It's going to say select. You can see we've got a whole bunch of rows right here. So we can choose the number of columns. We can choose the number of rows. So if I hit R, enter, let's change it to 6 rows. Specify the distance between 3 foot. No increasing whatever that word was, elevation. um, if we want to do the number of columns, COL, enter. Number of columns, let's say we want 10 columns. So you can see you can kind of just work your way through some of these prompts of how you want this tool to work. At a certain point you're done, just click close array. But again, this is not something that you would use a whole bunch, and because of the way it works right here, it just kind of creates a bunch of stuff. But once I'm done, I can hit explode or type explode, and that will give me full control over each of these sections right here. So that would be that one. Are there any other interesting... lengthen is always nice. You will find a lot of times... Actually, let's do offset, because that's that one, right? Yeah, offset. So OFF is the offset tool. Often what you'll do is you will draw a line representing either the interior or exterior of your walls, and then instead of having to repeat yourself and line it up, you can use the offset tool. So I've got this line selected. I will type OFF for offset, specify the distance. I'm going to do 6 inches, and then we would offset this to whichever side of this line we want. So if I go that way, now we have 2 lines here. So the other tool that I was just mentioning was going to be this lengthen, and I think it's LEN, but yeah. So select an object to measure to. So this is the object we're measuring to. And then, let's see, we hit spacebar. Oh, that's, never mind, wrong lengthen. I'm thinking of... Which one am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of, hold on. Okay, yeah, I got them switched in my head here. I was thinking about the extend. Oops. Not in there. Okay. So, extend EXTE. That gets you the tool. I have this. Sorry. Start again. Extend. Select the object to extend, and so it's going to extend it directly kind of into that line up there. And you'll find that often what you guys will be doing is you'll be working on a whole bunch of interior stuff, and they'll have a whole bunch of lines that just aren't quite long enough. Running extend, nope, that was extrude. Extend lets you just go through here and force those to draw out. And then again, you end up with that little gap, or you end up with that little extra line in the middle. Select the area, TR, enter, gets you into trim, and get rid of that trim in the center. So there's a whole bunch of tools where you'll be jumping back and forth with them. Let me see what some of the others are here real quick. Oh, okay. Join is another one. So what we had a minute ago was if we drew a line. Oh wait, sorry. If we drew a polyline, we would create that. Let's just go here. So there we've got a polyline right there. And then when we explode it, it's now a bunch of individual little line sections, right? When we want to, sometimes we do want a polyline, especially for offset, because if I go offset and I start doing that on this, I have to kind of do these distances manually, and if we're lucky, it'll do, no, it's not doing that. So if I wanted this to do it all at once, especially when you have a fairly complicated floor plan, Oh, I went back too far. So we were exploded. Okay, we're still exploded. So what I would do is I would type join, and if you watch the little handles on this, see now they're flat in the center. That indicates that we're now back in a polyline or basically a group line. But these are all joined now together. So when I run this offset tool, it's going to ask me for the distance, and then now it's going to do this whole set inside and out, right? Whereas before it was just I can only do one line at a time. So that's a good one to have right there. I think that's all the good tools that I end up kind of using super regularly. Stay away from the brakes. Um, I don't really touch splines. Edit hatch, you just get into by double clicking. So that's pretty much all the tools from the modify section here that I want to go over. What we'll do, I'm actually gonna end this video and then I'll switch to another one and we'll jump into annotation, layers, and I don't think we're gonna hit blocks in the first class. So yeah, let me end this one and I'll jump back in a second.